these are the parts that you will receive with the Shapeways kit. There are other pieces that are needed to put this thing together. However, they're all really easy to find either on the internet or with local stores. And I have a couple links to the parts that I specifically bought off of Amazon. So these are the pieces you have. You'll have a base plate. You'll have a main bar lock. You'll have the bar. You'll have the handle lock. You'll have the bar pin. You'll have the handle / blade assembly. And then you'll have two blade locks, a right side and a left side. The first step is to basically clean the parts. They'll have a bunch of white dust that's left in some of the cracks and crevices from the 3D printing process, and you'll have to clear that out. And I'm just using an old toothbrush to do that. So, with everything cleaned, the next step has to do with a little safety issue. Now, the blade and the handle are actually one piece right now. They're connected. And this is for the safety purpose for both the manufacturing and myself, that you don't want to sell anything that could be confused for a weapon. Even though the blade is plastic, it's completely dull and has no point and is 100% safe, you still want to make sure that people don't confuse this for a knife. So the parts are actually connected. Now obviously you can disconnect these pieces and break them. However, if you do that, you are responsible for modifying the design, and you are responsible for understanding the laws of your nation, your country, your state, and you're also responsible for understanding the rules of the particular convention or whatever social situation you're going to bring this into. So just remember, if you separate the blade from the handle, it is on you and only you to understand and not be an idiot about it. So, because depending on how you paint this, even though it's completely safe, some people will think it's a real knife, and there will be real consequences to your fake blade. So if you choose to take the responsibility, the way to separate these two pieces is you take a pair of simple clippers, and right here in the front you can see that the blade is physically connected to the housing. What you need to do is clip those connection points, and that will separate these two pieces. However, they're still held together by a great deal of 3D printing powder, and so what you're going to need to do is basically wiggle these parts back and forth and pull. And you can see, here's all the extra 3D printing powder. So now you have two separated parts. So now what you can do is clip off the excess on the blade side, and then you can continue your cleaning process. So then, to finish cleaning these pieces off, the best thing you can do is kind of do a mock assembly. So if you take the bar and you slide it into your main base, and just slide it around in there, you'll find that you can spread everything out, and you're looking so that these two parts are, slide very, very smoothly around one another. You can do the same thing using the handle and the bar. Simply slide these two pieces together, spin everything around, get everything cleared out, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then lastly do the same thing with your blade and your handle. And you can see there's a lot of stuff still left in there. You can use this to just clean these pieces out. The last stage of cleanup is to clear out a number of holes that are in these parts so that we can put pins through them during assembly. Now you can just take a normal jumbo paper clip and you can clear out those holes, and it'll take a little bit of force. I found that the best way to do it is to simply clip off a little piece of a straight piece of your paper clip, chuck that into a drill, or in my case a Dremel, and use that to clear out the parts. Now there are two holes in the main bar here near the end, and you'll see indentations where the holes are. They're just a little bit blocked up. So there's two holes here. One there, and one here. Those are clear. In the blade locks, there's one hole per blade lock. It just runs right through this round section here. You see, it just takes a little bit of effort to clear out the dust from 3D printing. There are 4 holes in the main lock for the bar. There's 2 here in the side. And then there lastly are 2 more right in the center. One here. And then one there. And then lastly, there are a number of them in the handles. There are 4 cosmetic holes. Oh, they're located here, here, here and here, and you'll see as I clear those out, those run all the way through the part. And then there are 4 or 8, depending on how you want to drill them, in more holes here that are functional. There are 2 here, 1 here, and 1 here that run all the way through out here and here. Then there's 2 more, 1 here, and 1 there, and they run all the way through. So just clear those guys out. And then after you finish clearing these out, there's going to probably be a little bit of flash or a little bit of extra plastic that you kind of pushed through. And so what you'll want to do is go ahead and sand those guys off and clean off that extra flash, just so that your part still runs smooth. And then there is our last one. And so to clean off the flash, all you have to do is you can use your fingernails, or you can use some sandpaper or whatever you have laying about. But just go ahead and make sure you clean off, any extra little, you see, like plastic bits that are that you've pushed out of these holes, just to make everything smooth. And the big ones to take care of are actually the ones that end up inside of your handle. You'll see now it gets jammed. The next thing you're going to need is 2 neodymium magnets. These are 3/8 of an inch in diameter and 1/16 of an inch thick. And you're going to need to glue those into the bar and the handle. So the one in the bar goes into this hole in the front. You can see you can simply drop it in there like so. And then what you can do is you can push it back out through the back here. That's why that hole is there. And then just take some super glue and put a tiny little bit all around the edge, and then drop your magnet in. And press that guy all the way down and let him dry. Now the other thing you can do is that you'll probably not have 2, you'll probably have more. Take the extra magnets and actually put them on the back to help hold these magnets in place while you're actually gluing them. Then the next one goes here in the handle. Now it's key to make sure that these magnets want to attract one another, not repel one another. And the best way I found to do that is to simply put your finger on top of the first magnet, drop the other magnet right on top of them so that they attract, and then make sure that that side is what glues in to your handle. So put your glue here on your handle, tiny little bit, and then rotate your handle, bring it up to the magnet, and then you'll know that they'll attract one another, not repel one another. For painting these guys, it's very simple. Because of the light texture that the plastic naturally has, it holds paint really well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of matte black paint. It's just an acrylic paint here. And then I'm going to take a stiff bristled brush, and I'm basically going to aggressively dry brush all of these pieces. So next step is take a little bit of silver paint. You don't need much, just put a tiny little bit on your finger and work it around so you have a nice kind of smear. And then take your parts here and then just kind of brush your fingers on the edges. And so all that was just a coat of slightly watered down black acrylic paint. Let that dry. Then I literally with my fingers Took some silver acrylic paint and just, you know, kind of touched the edges up, give it a little bit of distressed look, and then a little bit more heavy of a coat here on this silver bar, front and back, on the lock and the pin. Let that all dry, and then we can go ahead and do final assembly. However, before you go to final assembly, you're going to have to make sure that everything still fits together, and if not, you're going to have to do some sanding and make sure that your main bar slides in nice and smooth. Make sure that the pin fits in here. And then the big one, which is make sure that if you have taken the responsibility to separate these, make sure that your blade and your handle slide smooth. If not, go ahead and just give them a light sanding again. So first step is to take your bar and your main plate, slide them together, making sure that this hole, which will accept the pin, is near the back. And take your pin, take a tiny little bit of super glue, and just dab it on these two little ears here. And then a little bit around the edges. And then this pin gets pushed down all the way flush with that piece. For your bar lock, what you need to do is line up all your holes, making sure that the two stripes or lines are facing down. Line those guys up. Take one of your paper clips and run it straight through. And now the key to this guy is to actually clip this paper clip off, but clip it so that it's flush with these two ears, not so that it's flush with these surfaces. You're going to need a little bit of extra paper clip sticking out to make the latch system function. So just clip this guy off right there, and you can see a little bit sticking out on either side. So then the next step is to put some paper clips through these two holes, which will hold on your blade locks. Just make sure that the long sides point the same direction as the little holder tab. And then if you've decided to separate these two parts, you can slide your blade through and then take a paper clip, and depending on which way you want the blade to point, you can either point it this way and put the paper clip through this hole here, or you can put the blade in the other way and then put the paper clip in this other one. So whichever way you want, put the paper clip in, straight through, and then just push it until it's perfectly flush on the other side, and then bring in your clippers and just kind of clip it to size, and that will lock in your blade. Some of these orthodontic rubber bands, there's a link in the description. Grab one of your orthodontic rubber bands, hook it over this front hook, stretch it over so it sets into the little hook down here, and then drop it over the back hook, and then grab it here and pull on it to again set it, and this will act as the spring that keeps these locks in. And then do the same exact thing on the other side. Make sure you set your rubber band so that way they won't pop out, and that way when you point it up, the blade will stay in place, but when you open the tabs, the blade will drop through. The next thing to do is take your handle lock, put that inside the bar, and then take one of these smaller rubber bands, push it through this hook, grab it and pull it over so it's hooked on, then place your thumbnail on this top hole, release, and then use like a paper clip or something small and just press it through that hook. And so that way you can see there's a rubber band that is holding those two pieces so that this doesn't want to fall out. And the last thing you need to do is take your handle, line it up with that hole and push in, you'll see it pops that guy out of the way, and then reset that guy into place. If you ever want to get these guys apart again, just grab here in the front, tilt it up, and then you can slide the handle right back out. And then rotate it sideways until the magnets will line it back up. Then you can slide everything back in, and then here on your front, take 4 of your larger 3/8 rubber bands, hook them over this back hook here, bring them forward, then cross them, then bring them back, hook it over so you get kind of a double rubber band going. Do that one more time on this side, flip it over, bring it back around, then on the other side, same exact thing, over, around, hook, and last time, over, around, and... If you run into any issues after you've put on your 2 side locks, that your blade seems to be kind of sticking, what you need to do is take a piece of sandpaper and just smooth out the top and bottom edges of the blade, all the way from the tip all the way to the back. Just smooth those guys out, and then on your actual locks, go ahead and sand just slightly right here. And all you're trying to do is just smooth those surfaces out so that way you don't have any roughness. And once you do that, it should solve most of those issues. So that way everything is nice and smooth. So the next thing you'll need is like a chunk of foam or some piece of padding. And then what you'll need to do is simply cut a little piece and just make it kind of fit the front of this guy, like so. And trim it down so it's just the right size. And then you can simply glue or double stick tape or whatever you want this piece into place. Right here. Attach some kind of straps. I'm using some straps I made out of some stretchy Velcro material, but you can use shoelaces, leather straps, whatever matches your costume or your vibe. Then take a piece of fishing line and you need to loop it first through this top hole, then bring it back around and out the bottom hole here in this front lock. So you see it's going in the bottom, coming out the top. And then tie a knot or a loop of some kind in the bottom piece, and then you can trim this guy off so that it's nice and comfy. Pull that guy forward, make sure that it holds on nice and good. Then what you need to do is open up your lock by hand, push everything out, rotate it, grab onto this guy, and pull back. You don't want it slid forward, you want it all the way back. Then go ahead and loop on your front one, and in general what you want to do is keep this one loose because it'll be uncomfortable. It'll also tend to bend the rail so things will get gummed up, and it'll also limit how easily you can rotate your wrist. And then you can go ahead and hook on this back one. This one can be nice and tight. This is what actually holds it to your arm. But it doesn't have to be too tight. Again, you're not fighting against much weight here. It's very lightweight plastic. Then what you can do is go ahead and manually close this guy back up. Then either you can tie a loop in it and have it go around your thumb. Just make sure that you put your arm all the way back before you tie your loop, or you can do what I do and use a ring instead of doing just a loop. That way it's easier to get on and off and looks a little bit more professional. But same idea, you loop it through your ring. You can do this with a key ring I've used before. You can do a bunch of different ways. But anyway, just get a loop in it so you're ready to tie it off. And then again, the key is to get it on your thumb, pull your hand all the way back, and then kind of mark or take measure of exactly where you need to tie this part off. And so the way that this lock system now works is once you have everything strap down on your arm. Simply put it on your thumb, and then the way this works is if you pull your hand back, everything's fine, it doesn't activate. But if you reach forward with your two fingers and do a Spider-Man here and grab the cable, when you pull back, it now opens. Then you point your arm down, everything falls out. If you let go with your hand, everything's locked, everything's good to go. You can move around freely. When you're ready to close it, just grab the string again, pull, point everything up. When everything is closed down, go ahead and let go, and it's locked in. The last phase for this is to do the silver details. Now you can do that with paint or any other particular way you feel like doing it. I like using foil tape. I use this a lot on my projects. Basically all you have to do is grab a piece of it, rip off the piece that you need about the same size as your work piece. And then all you have to do is it's basically just a big sheet of aluminum foil, but it's sticky on one side. So just peel this guy off, and before you stick this guy on, go ahead and remove your rubber bands, just like so. And then you can go ahead and also remove your blade if you want to, or if you have chosen to make it removable. Just push the paper clip back out the other side and pull that guy out. So then, just take this piece here, stick it down right on top, peel it off. And then all you gotta do is basically use your fingers, your fingernails, and then you can also use, like clay tools or anything you like. I use one of these guys, just a little soldering tool, and you can just start by getting this stuff all stuck down all over. And then for any large area that you don't want silver, just go ahead and use your Exacto knife and trim off the material you don't need. So you can see there is side one, and then you gotta flip it and do the back side. And your final stage is simply take a little bit of black paint again, and then just mush it all over the silver and in the edges to kind of hide some of the jaggedy edges and to kind of paint in some of the sunken details. So just mush it all in there. Make sure you get the kind of edges where it meets to the black area, and then all you got to do is just wipe it off with a finger. And this is the basic kind of distressing process that use. Just clean this guy off a little bit. Make sure you get it down into all the wee crevices. And then again, just wipe it off real lightly with your finger. And you can see now we have the black on the silver, and you also get a little bit of distressing going on there with the kind of residue. And again, then just flip it over, hit your edges, and then hit the back as well. Is reconnect your rubber bands. And then with some clean hands, reassemble the blade with your pin. And then for your pin, you just need to pop hole. There you go. Mosh mosh.